over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, mood, and behavior can be affected. Many factors contribute to mental health problems, including biological factors such as genes, life experiences such as trauma, and just having a normal family history of mental health. So tonight I will be your moderator, and my name is Chelsea West. I am an undergraduate student at the University of West Indies pursuing a bachelor's in electrical and computer engineering. And yes, so unfortunately tonight we do not have two of our panelists. Javon was unable to make it, and Renelle is here, but will not be as active as need be. So filling in for them, we have Mr. Dominic, but I will allow Kayla to introduce herself and then allow our guest to introduce himself.
Hi, good night, everyone. My name's Kayla. I'm 17. I'm from Barbados and I go to Harrison College. I am a national swimmer and triathlete. And today's topic, I think, is something that is just a topic I think everybody knows or has heard, a few words, but it's just to give a more in-depth and just make people more aware of something that needed to be discussed a lot more.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Dominic Scanterbury. I'm 18 years of age, and I'm a student of Harrison College as well. I am a national badminton player, and the topic that we are talking on tonight is one that is very crucial with the youth currently, especially with everything that we are going through, and I'm sure with adults as well. But for us, it's just a topic that sometimes can be looked over and it's not really discussed as much as it should be, as the knowledge isn't really out there. Or even if it is, that's not accessible to us as I believe it should be. And this can be to our detriment.
Great. So my first question is, with respect to mental health, what are your key concerns as youth of today? Kayla?
I think for me, one of the main concerns is that it's not very popular. It's not a very popular topic. It's not something that it's not a normal question that students or just anybody's generally asked. You get the usual, how are you today? And a good, and that's the end of that. And you don't really open up and express, I'm not feeling 100%, school is stressing. You don't have that conversation often enough. And then with all of that staying bottled up, it leads to bad decisions.
And as Kayla said, you get that, how are you doing? And that's it. Because even for me and myself, when I go on social media and talk to any of my friends, you always hear that school is stressing me out. You don't really feel doing this anymore. But at the end of the day, we still do it. There's nothing there to say, all right, you are not feeling this, you are feeling this way, and what are we going to do about it? And one certain concern that is me is that when people do have mental breakdowns or mental or meltdowns, and people look at them and they laugh at them. They say, "Oh, they're being so dramatic. They just want attention." And at the end of the day, most of the time, it's something more serious than that, because these meltdowns, these breakdowns, can lead to people going into ditches and failing at most of the things that they have done. And sometimes it could even lead to suicidal thoughts. So I just believe one concern that I have is that it should be integrated more into our life, and we should be informed more of how we can deal with it.
All right. Okay, great. So that just gives you a scope of what we'll be talking about tonight. But we want to also let you know that this starts from very, very young, in terms of like at school, how things in primary school can really affect the youth in the long run. So things like trauma, the pressures of exams, interaction with students in general. If students don't like you from the get-go, these things can really dawn on children from a young age. So my next question, and Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or drop a comment in the chat. Right. So, with respect to succeeding in life, how do you think that this affects your mental health? Or not necessarily that y'all have mental health problems, but in terms of seeing your friends and, given everything that's going on right now. So, is there pressure to succeed? Sorry. Dominic, you can go.
Well, yeah, the pressure to succeed with everything that we have going on is definitely there. You can just look at school ways. With our teachers and the pressure from our parents, because they expect so much from us. From our parents, they expect us to do good because they want better for us than what they had. So that pressure is there, and then there's also the pressure from the teachers that they are the one teaching us, so they expect that what they are teaching is being learned, and they want better for us as well. And all of this pressure can be a heavy load on people who are not really mentally stable, and it can cause them to just want to give up. It can cause them to just feel and not care about anything they're doing anymore. So there, that pressure is very negative, but at the same time, it can be positive because that pressure that is there, those standards that the teachers will have for you, those standards that your parents will have for you, those standards, you once you put yourself to work, eventually you will want to reach those standards and you will reach those standards. And by you setting and reaching those standards for yourself, when you fall off of it, you can hold yourself accountable and you know that you were once there and that you set that standard so you could eventually get back there. So there is those pressures and there's negatives and positives to it. But once that pressure that is there is monitored and it's a positive form, it is all well.
When I first heard the question, I honestly didn't really think about the positive sides like Dominic said. Um, I think for me, I think with the pressure is definitely, I would say, amplified. It was always there. Because of Corona and stuff, there's little to no physical engagement with like your friends or even your school teachers and stuff. School is a lot harder and it's something that we have to learn to adapt to. And this can be really demotivating, just waking up, going on a screen, listening to your teachers talk from 9 to 3, then going on another screen if you need a break, or then going to, if you do the bare minimum exercise, doing that for what, an hour, maybe two, and then back onto screens or back inside of your house. Um, yeah, I think that's all I have to say for right now.
Okay, great. So I am Renelle, would you like to say anything?
Basically, Dominic and Kayla said everything, and I totally agree with it.
Okay, great. No, I can give you my perspective. Of course, I'm a university student, but I feel like I've been under pressure from a very young age. So when I was in, people say, well, class two, I had a teacher and I wasn't doing well in class. And she told my mom, if Chelsea gets grade threes, she would do fine. She'll be fine because my daughter got grade threes and that is okay. And I was at public school at the time and my mom took me out one time. I went straight to private school and from there, really, I got what I needed. And that was in class two. I was probably like, how old are we? Like 8 or 7, probably. And to this day, I will never forget that. And I see her in the bank often, and my mom is like, I should go up to her and let her know about the ones, let her know where you are right now in life. But if I didn't have the means to jump or to basically jump and just go somewhere that's better, how would that have affected me in the long run? I might not be where I am today. And so, as what I'm trying to say is, there are students or children out there are less fortunate and that experience these things every day. And that could be the reason why, they don't excel as well. So, it's basically what we're going to talk about is it being a whole of family effort and not necessarily mom and dad, but everybody, looking out for kids at these young ages and just helping them flourish as they progress through school. But also with respect to being a university student, you know, everybody says, oh, it's just a degree, you know, I did it before, so you could do it again. But they are not going through what we are currently going through. So it is it will always be pressure, like Kayla said. But the pressure now is, I feel like it's 10 times as bad. So that's just my take on it. Um, my next question would kind of go around, how can parents support us during this kind of time? And when I say parents, not only parents, but like I said, it's a whole of family effort. So how can our family members really pitch in to help us?
I think that just having like a strong relationship with, parents and just adults that you trust and can just talk to about certain things is very important, because if you don't express or like talk to somebody about how you feel and they say, well, you have to do X, Y, and Z, or maybe try this and this might help, you end up just like containing and bottling up everything. And allow you that will allow you to try and find other ways to, basically try to ignore your feelings, or other ways to forget about how you are feeling. And this all the time will not obviously be positive. Um, I think another thing is, if a child does come to you, or, come to you and talk to you about, well, this is happening in school and stuff, and they think, I think one of the things I would say is, don't say, well, we had to do that too. That's one of the most annoying things. That drives me crazy. Is like, well, we had this too, or we understand, because, and I'm not saying that parents are not totally gonna understand, or adults are not totally gonna understand, but there are just certain things that it's like, instead of trying to compare how you were when you were our age, more so just try to be there and comfort and help them find a solution.
Yeah, so just going off of what Kill said, yes, that most parents and adults went through basically what they think we're going through, so they would say that. But at the end of the day, it's something totally different, as in our age, and not our age, sorry, the age that we live in with technology and everything is heightened. Because, sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
So I'm just asking, how can parents and family members
All right,
basically contribute?
all right. And one way that they can contribute, especially parents, family, people that you live with, they, instead of just asking you how are you feeling, actually set aside times for you all to actually discuss these certain things. And then also, for me, one thing that I realized, being at home and trying to um, keep motivated with school and keep a good mindset, is having schedule set. So your parents, your family, you can let them know what you have, what your goals are, what you have in mind. And once they know these things, they can better adapt to helping you reach these goals and keep a cool and collected mind in whatever and everything is you do.
Okay, great. So,
Okay, so I agreed with what both panelists said, and as Kayla said, I'm having a good relationship is very important as well. That way, your child is your child feels a little more comfortable to come to you towards certain things. So having a good relationship would probably help to solve some of those things as well, being understanding and negotiable. Those things can also lead to how your child feels about coming to you towards certain things. And I think, as somebody mentioned before, if they don't have a good relationship, probably they will just stay there and everything will just build up. So that relationship thing stood out to me there.
right. So I completely agree with everyone. I will give the perspectives of somebody that maybe doesn't have two parents that they can talk to, or two parents, or have good relationship with their parents. That is where the aunties and the uncles will come in, and the godparents, because we find godparents usually stay for the first few years when the baby is cute, and then they trickle away and leave us. So I know there are people in here that more likely don't have kids, so you too can help out with children as they grow, because there's not everything that a child is going to want to tell mommy and daddy. But if they know auntie will be okay and auntie will not have a problem, auntie will help me, then that also helps them. Well, that of course will help them. Um. So
Okay, jump in there as well, no?
yeah.
Right, I'm going back to the family. Me as a brother, I have other brothers, and one thing that they can really help out, and one thing that I believe I can help them out with, is not jumping at any and every occasion to see something and want to post something for it. Because we always talk about the parents, but then there's also the brotherly and sisterly connections that can sometimes have you sent off. Because for me, one example that I can give, let's say I will wake up in the morning and I go and train, I'm feeling good, and I come inside, and then the first thing my brother does, he can't find something, and he's going to assume that I had it, and he just starts shouting at me. If I didn't go and do what I did, training in the morning, if I just woke up and I was already feeling down, and then he goes and do this and starts shouting at me, me seeing him as a brother, it'd be like, oh, so he don't really care. He doesn't see what I'm going through, so he's just assuming that everything's okay, and that can make it even worse. So just wonder if you have any families, if you have any siblings, one thing that you can do before you go and attack them, or just go at them in a non-passive way, to think about it first and think about any and every situation before you just go right at them.
Right. I actually can take it from a different point of view. I might be the one to snap at my sister, because she doesn't understand the struggle of being a university student. She's in secondary school. So she thinks that, like, I'm not under pressure and I'm just like so happy and I could just talk about anything. And there are times where, sometimes I just genuinely snap and just like, leave me alone. And of course, I have to think, maybe she also is not having a good day. So how can that affect her? So like Dominic said, we have to, also brother and sister, but like I said, hold a family effort. But when I say with respect to parents, now a parent needs to know when they can help their child and when they can't. Like there was a time I was having a bad day, and my mom thought it was probably going crazy, but I wasn't. It was just a bad day, and she carried me to the doctor. Our normal general practitioner, but she carried me to the doctor, and it was just a bad day. No, I'm at home, so this is probably her first time seeing my bad days, because usually I would be in Trinidad studying, so she wouldn't have to see. So for her, it was like, this child is going, what's going on? Is she going crazy? So she carried me to the doctor, and I was upset because she's taking away my time from, I have other things to do. But honestly, I went and spoke to the doctor, and she's a family doctor. Like, we have normal conversations, so she's a neutral ear, and I can tell you that the little 15 minutes we spent talking, I I went from hot-headed. I walked in crying because I was so vexed that she really thought I was just going crazy. But when I left, I felt like a weight off of my shoulders because I had somebody to talk to that was, your parents look out for you, but there's not everything that you can express to them because they go through their own things. Like my mom wanted to come with me, and I was like, no, because if you know the pressure and the sadness that sometimes come for just trying to get a paper, and the paper is very valuable, but get a paper, you might be, it's not going to help you, in my opinion. And I know that because I have a friend studies same degree as me. Her dad did our degree, and he was okay, man. I did it, so like everybody says, I did it, so you should be able to do it. And he said to her the other day, if I knew what you would have to go through to get this degree, I would tell you, do not worry about it, because this is not how it was when I did it. I didn't think this is what it would be for you. And this is literally killing you. Like, she is depressed because, failing. And we have that whole stigma, you can't fail, you have to fail to succeed. But not everybody can really manage and handle that. So it's for parents to know, okay, I have a child, but can I help them? Is this above me? And it doesn't have to be a doctor because, not everybody can afford. Sometimes it could be a neutral auntie or a neutral just family friend that is out there looking after, everybody. So, like it says, it is a village to raise a child and not just two parents. So I see we have a question from Pastor Henry.
Wait, before you ask the question, Chelsea, just to
Yeah.
add, the comment you made about the if it if I knew this is what you had to go through, I think that's probably something new because most parents and stuff see it as, oh, now you have all the devices and you have all the internet, everything is there at your hands, all this knowledge. It's so easy for you to find. Back in the day, we had to go to the
Yeah,
public
I agree.
library and read books. And so I
Yeah.
think that's another thing, is because with technology and everything developing so much, because most everything is at our fingertips right now. um it's I think most parents and most adults see it as a benefit to us when it comes to more so than it being negative and stressful and stuff like that.
Right. I agree. I,
And the thing about that is, when you look at it, a positive. But the downside to it is that the physical interaction isn't there. I was talking to one of
Yeah.
my teachers earlier today, and he was asking us about deferring any of our exams because our exams are coming up in June. He was asking us if we were ready, and some students were saying no, they are not for certain subjects. And he, being a teacher of many subjects, he could look at us and tell us that certain subjects, yes, you all should be ready for them, that these could be taught online, these are simple. But then the same side, that he could look at us and say, oh, that this is a more contact subject, that it's going to be very difficult to learn this over a screen because it's stuff like graphs, like edu TD. One thing that our teacher is doing right now with all the CAD, yes, we need the computers, but he can't look and see what everyone is doing. So it's a lot of more of a longer and strenuous process than it would be if we were in person. So yes, it's a positive, but in these situations currently, it's okay, but not the best. So I guess that could also be on people's mental health.
I agree. So, Bernal, would you like to say anything? She's still here?
No, that's fine. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, Pastor Henry says, do you think that parents put too much pressure uh, on their clients to succeed at their schoolwork? For example, studying for the 11 plus exam. Do parents and teachers add to children's stress at times?
I think not necessarily from my situation, but just looking on. I remember when I was doing 11 plus, which I don't know, everybody here is probably not from Barbados. So that's the exam you do from going to primary school into like secondary school or high school or whatever the conversion is. Um, I did lessons probably 2 months before the exam, and it wasn't like to teach anything, it was just to get the practice. But then when I'm looking at some of my other friends, and even in secondary school, before they even get to C-Sec level, they're doing lessons every single evening. And I think for me is, yes, I understand the that you want your children to succeed and stuff like that, and you're trying to put them in the best position for this. But going to school from waking up to at 6 to go to school from 9 to 3, bucks whole day learning all this on your brain, then to go to lessons for 2 or 3 or 4 more hours every single day continuously. I don't think that is a lot of pressure. I think because you're just continuously, and it's never, I think most parents don't ask their children, well, do you think you need lessons for this subject, or do you need help? It's most of the time it's, oh, you now have lessons Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings for 2 and 3 hours. Whether the child could be getting A's, maybe a B plus, and it's, oh, you need to do better. And do you think this is it's never, do you think this is something that you can improve on your own and stuff like that?
I totally agree. Parents, I would say that they are putting a lot more unneeded pressure on their children. Because for me, as Gail said, with the 11 plus, the high school entrance exam, when I did it, there were 5 people in my class that were at the top of the class with me. And we were all battling for the first spot all the time. And then when the commencement came and we were getting back the results, I was seeing all of them going to schools that wasn't the one that I was aiming for, because, and I wouldn't even say that I was aiming for it, because the way that it was set up, my father went to one school, and then my brother, that who's a little older than me, he went to that same exact school. And my father had it ingrained in me that I was going there. There was no matter, I had no say in the matter. And he made sure that I got there. He did what he had to do every evening. Well, I wouldn't say every evening, but he was there making sure that I got the correct information I needed, and I came out and I did well. And when I looking at the 5 or 4 other people that I was with that were battling at the top, when I look back at them, none of them weren't where I was. And when I talked to them about it, they just were, I guess they were too nervous, they were too jittery then, and I guess that could be part of the pressure. But then also, as Kayla said, with the lessons, one thing that does happen, and I see it a lot, when I ask some of my friends who go to lessons, because I personally don't go, and they talk about how they have to go to these lessons that their parent told them that they have to go. And when they would rather be, say, at a football session or any other sporting event, which helps reduce stress. It has been scientifically proven. So some of these factors that people take out of their lives to pertain more schoolwork that they are doing a whole day, it is stressful. And the parents sometimes might not see it that way because they have their own agendas that they want better for their children. But sometimes that better might not always be the way to go. Sometimes that better that they want, they might be going about it the correct way.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking in general, sometimes parents may put a lot of pressure on a child when they are trying to, what's the best way to put it? Make sure their child reaches their full potential. Yeah, and I believe our goal as students should be just to try to do the best that we can. And I know that some parents have certain like expectations of us in certain aspects of our life, and we should try to meet those expectations if it means that it will have a positive impact on our life, and in most cases they do. So as I said before, we should just try to do the best that we can. We know what we are capable of, and I mean, we should never settle for less. Just try to do the best that we can.
Just to add to that quickly, I think like along with this same pressure, I think this is another thing that has to do with like your relationships with parents and just those people that you feel comfortable talking to. Because if you think that you're going to too many lessons as a child or whatever, and you personally don't want to, go to your parents and say, well, thing, because there are certain children that are going to be like, this is what mommy and daddy want, so I'm going to do this to my best ability whether I want to or not, just to make them happy. So you can go to an aunt or an uncle and say, explain to them and say, can you talk to my mom or my dad for me? So like for me personally, with the same safe space, and because I know Dominic mentioned extracurricular activities, the gym I used to go to before, on Thursday, on twice a week, it used to be a group of girls from different sports. So it was like swimming, triathlon, squash, basketball, just a group of us. And our gym coach, she was a female also. And we would sit down after the workout's done and stretch. And while we're stretching, she'll ask us, how we're doing. And having the adult there to, guide us and give us um the right the right advice, but while still having each other to, talk to about the situations, because we'll understand as we are all going through the same thing, also was really beneficial.
Right. So I'm gonna give my input and then I'm gonna allow Rhonda to ask her question. But the truth is, with respect to 11 plus, I cannot remember. I just asked my mom and she said I had lessons from like I was 7. And but what I get from that, right, is people say, should kids have an opinion? And I more than likely didn't have an opinion. But if I had an opinion, I probably wouldn't have gone. and I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So truthfully, I don't know if we should have an opinion. It depends the age, and of course it depends the child. I needed it. Some, like Kayla said, there are students that get all A's and don't need it at all, but parents still send them because I really don't even know why they send them. But for me, like I remember CXC, and my mom spent like $400 a week in lessons for me to do maths and English in full form. And I have family members that were like, why are you spending all this money on this child? But when I got the grade ones, nobody had anything to say. So it's like, your parents give you all they can. So sometimes you have to realize, you only reach this far because of them. And yeah, so I don't know if me personally, the child I am, should have had an opinion, but I would take Rhonda's. My mom says no. I will take Rhonda's question.
Hi, good night. Not really a question, but what Pastor Henry was asking, I do think that parents do put stress on their children. I am a preschool teacher, and I have 3.5, 4 and 5-year-olds in my class, and there are some parents who have even asked me to, Auntie Rhonda, I want you to give my child homework every day. I am like, I cannot give your 4-year-old, 5-year-old homework every day. Number one, that's too much for me to do. And the child is just 4 and 5. The brain hasn't even fully developed. So to give that child homework every day, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I give homework only on the weekends. That is enough. You have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to do it. Also, I also give lessons on the weekend. And I have 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, 7 in my lessons class. Some parents, they go really overboard. They push their child so much, but at that early age, they start pushing, and you can see where it just deteriorates later on in the child's life with that set of stress that early on in the child's life. So I think it's too much at times for those children. Thanks.
Just to add to that, like you said, with doing the lessons so young, I think even when we do get to the 11 plus age and to the secondary school, yes, you're supposed to learn and stuff like that, but it's still supposed to be a fun experience. Like, yes, you're gonna have the homework, yes, you're still gonna have the stress with exams and stuff, but there should still be certain aspects of school that you do look forward to and stuff like that. And I think with the whole stress and all the mental health and adding all of that pressure to children takes away from that.
Yeah, I just want to come in here, and I agree with Killer. It should be school, a learning environment. It should be fun. And for some people, they will look at it and say learning isn't fun. But it is when you find, well, for me, I would say personally, when you get to learn something new, but you just that you have to be passionate about it, that it can really captivating. And the thing that I want to get at is that we are talking about the parents putting the children under stress, but at the same time, we are putting ourselves under stress. And I'm not saying us specifically, but there are a lot of people, children my age, that that I could say their parents are giving them something to do, something like to note the garbage, simple chores, and they will get told to do it in the morning, and they will do it, and they will do everything else. They will lay down, they will watch movies. They know they have work to do, and they will wait until 10 o'clock in the night when they know that their mother or their father is going to come home, if there is there. So then to have to shout at them or ask them why they didn't do it when they could have done it ever since, and then to go and do their work. So I understand that our parents put stress on us sometimes, but we ourselves can be held accountable for certain things, that some of the pressure that we put ourselves under.
Right, I agree. I think in Barbados, and I know in Trinidad too, they have the stigma that the secondary school that you go to will determine your life. And I don't think it will determine your life. I think it will determine the person you are after the 5 years. No, it is true. When you go to Queen's College and Harrison College, you come out a little bit more polished, a lot, very polished compared to if you went, I don't want to call where else you went. But there are also people that don't learn the same way. And it's for parents to realize, okay, my child cannot get into a top school. How do I help that child now? How do I, maybe this child is someone that needs to do things with his hands, not necessarily book smart. So, like we said, it's getting to know your kids. But another thing, and the pressure of school, and I know for sure in Trinidad, and maybe Renal can comment, is that I've heard my friends say, in Trinidad, if you are not a doctor, a lawyer, or a engineer, you are nothing. What are you going to be? And I feel that's very harsh because everybody can't be a doctor, everybody can't be an engineer, everybody cannot be a lawyer. So if that is what is instilled in them from young, they will never be happy. And this will, of course, affect their mental health. I sit in class with students that are exceptionally smart, but because they do not love what they do, they do not, see how they can relate it. Maybe they're just good at math, they're not getting through the way they should. If they were doing something else that they really loved, they would be flying through the degree. So this could also be very detrimental to their health because if you realize you spent 4 to 3 years doing a degree that is tough, mentally it can do something to you because you feel like no, you are out there and you don't really want to be in this field. So that's just my 2 cents.
Right.
I don't know for now. Yeah,
Understand.
Dominic.
Right.
No, no,
Continue from that. You saying doing stuff that you love. Especially for us when we at Harrison College, one thing that was set, there were certain subjects that you had to do for the 4 years, and then after that you can branch off and decide what it is that you want to do.
yeah.
And we are told to do anything that we do, no matter if we like it or not, do it to the best of our ability as you're doing it unto God. But as you're going through that and you try to remember all of you try to remember that sometimes it may slip. Sometimes you just don't feel like doing it anymore. Sometimes you just want to go and do what you love. And I'm not saying what you love is playing games because for me, one subject that I never really got the hang of and one subject that I did not feel like doing at all was a foreign language, which was Spanish. No, I kept being told that it would help me in the long run. It would help me because I'm an athlete and I like to travel. Because when I was in first form, it actually did help me because I went to Aruba and there were a lot of Spaniards there and I was able to converse with some of them. It wasn't anything major, but I was able to have small little talks with them. So basically, what I was trying to say is that yes, there are some things that you don't like to do and we are told to do them, but if it's really not what you're passionate about and you don't love it, I don't believe that you should continue with it. So yes, at the short time, try and do it at the best because no one should know that you don't like doing something. But if it's for an extended period of time where you don't really have any control over, I believe that you should stay to what it is and try to cut it off and do something that benefits you more.
Right. I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree. One thing that I remember growing up, even up to this day, sometimes my parents would encourage me and not looking down on anybody's job or hustle or anything, but sometimes they would give an example like the persons who are in the stores cutting clothes in the grocery, cashing and packing shelves and so on. They would say, this is not what you want to settle for. And I guess that is just to motivate us, not setting any um that you have to be a doctor or anything, but just to motivate us to, as I said before, never settling for less and just for us to be more comfortable in reaching our fullest potential.
I agree. I know in Barbados, parents say, I could get you a job at the gas station.
Or you can work at Shafat.
Yes. So that is, I guess it's a Caribbean thing, but we have it. My mom said it works. We have a question from Donna that asks, do you think that some children will admit that they need lessons, especially if they are timid or embarrassed to say they need help? I don't mean the ones who are already getting good grades. So I think we basically explain this. That's where the parent would step in and say, okay, my child is not doing well, let me work to suit.
I also want to talk on that a little because we were talking about relationships. And this can also stem from relationships with the teachers as well. Now, I'm aware that you are a university student and the classic setup is different. As in, you might have a class of over 100 students. But at most secondary schools, the classes are 30 around there. And me, as a student at high school, some of my teachers have personally reached out to me when they saw that I was failing. Yeah, and that is one thing that can cause the children to reach out and let the parents know they need lessons. Because they also had some teachers that saw that I was failing and would just come down on me every single class. And it wasn't to say that they were coming down on me and trying to help me to do better. It was just coming down on me, and I felt attacked. But when now where I am, I can look back at it and see that they were just seeing that I was doing poorly and they need to do better. But in the situation, the way that I see it came across, oh, the teacher doesn't like me. And because the teacher doesn't like me, I'm done with this class. I don't want to be here anymore. That's it. So I just want for to answer those questions. It depends on the student and the relationship that they have with the teacher. That is a major role in it. Because me, I never reached out for lessons, and I wasn't having the best grades, but I was sliding by. And the way that I see it, saw it, it wasn't necessary. Because the reason that I would say I wasn't having best grades is because I wasn't really applying myself the way I should be. So for the students that are actually struggling with it, they might see it as a way to go to their parents and say that they need lessons. But then sometimes the parents might not be able to afford it, and the child might see that and be like, oh, because of that, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to try and make my parents have to go through anything else, and that can be stressful on them even more because now they're not only worrying about themselves and how they're doing in school, but they're worrying about their parent, they're worrying about their family. And then that's even more stress because they're just feeling and going down more, and the teacher just coming down on them even more.
Yeah, I agree with Dominic. I think this is with a question like that. I think the lessons more so. I think this is where the relationship with the parents and the teachers come into play. Because if you see you look at your child's report and you see the continuous these one or two subjects that are always below average or below what all the other subjects may portray. It's like, that's where you would kind of ask questions. How are you doing with things? Do you like it? Kind of figure out like what. And I think the best, well, I obviously every parent would have a different idea of what they think the best route to go would be, but I think that the best way to approach it would be, do you think this is something that you can get done, that you can improve on your own, or do you think that you might need the help, as opposed to just saying, okay, yeah, let's put you in lessons. And then with the relationship with the teachers, I remember I have a few teachers that have said this, my job is to teach you and that's it. And I think with being a teacher, it's a lot more than that, because yes, you might be teaching, because the at my school at least is pretty big classes, so it's a class of 30 plus students, and you're teaching everybody the same way, but not everybody's going to learn the same way. So if you do have a test or continuous assessments and you see one or two students aren't, performing to what you think is a good standard, or I don't think I worded that correctly, but I think he'll understand what I'm trying to make, is that's where you would ask the student, do you think you need help with this, or you taught to reach out to their parents or stuff like that, as opposed to just marking them, giving them a 40% and giving the other students the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and then just moving on to the next topic.
Right.
I
I agree.
agree. Something small I want to add to that too, as Kayla said, having a good relationship with your teacher is very important, so that if a child doesn't understand something in class, they can feel comfortable coming to you as the teacher just to have a better understanding of what the teacher was trying to teach, and also to find creative ways to actually teach the topic, especially if it's a new topic. Um, yeah, so having a good relationship with the teacher as well, that's important. Because you can be paying attention in class but still don't understand it at the end of the class. So that's very important as well.
I agree, but as a university student, we are not taught. They don't teach us. We are lectured to, and that is where the lessons will. Yeah, the lessons will help, but we don't get lessons at university. So from young, yes, students and children will have lessons, but lesson teachers or parents need to really, how do I say, mold them for the future. Because if every time a child fails something, your first thought is, okay, lessons, that child he will get the extra help. But in the long run and in life, there's not always going to be opportunity for you to get that extra help from somebody else. So you have to, and then that's why parents also have children tested, because that those kind of things are still enforced at university level. So yes, the lessons is great, but you have to mold your children and help them to figure out problem solving and a lot of these things. And like for me personally, my degree, we started with 100+ students, 100+. And I could tell you to this day that one of my classes only have like 15. Some of them, and the mental health problems, I've seen students break down. I've seen students drop out after 3 years. And because they come in from high school and thought everything, everything is on the board, and teacher explains and stays after class and you get lessons. But when you hit university, it's a totally different ball game. And I think Kate and college, will help you with that. But is, like people say, the big leagues, and you have to really realize, they say you're adults now at that point, so you have to sit down and figure out a lot of things by yourself. But that is no, we have to realize, you have to be open as well, because some of them are very willing to help, so you have to take advantage of that. But you also have to know what is going on to even talk to some of these, because half of these are doctors. So um you have to guide them mentally and help them in the long run, and not allow them to get everything or go to lessons as soon as they have a problem. Because I had my struggles in school, and one of my teachers is like, what's wrong with you? Sometimes you need that hard talk. What's wrong with you? You're doing the work in class. Because I was doing real bad in math, so he was like, what is wrong with you? And after that, I've never had a problem with math since I was at university. And I find, as a regional student, I had to step out the box and really communicate with lecturers. And I would go to this one lecture, and I had an exam with him, and he said, Chelsea, you're telling me foolishness. And if I didn't have the self-esteem to handle that, I would have sat down and cried like some of the other people in there. Because at the end, we know a lot, but it is doubting yourself is a very big thing I've realized that students deal with. So it's really being sure of yourself. And sometimes you could be completely wrong, but you see kids these days, and they're so bold. They're fearless. But you come to later on, and they're very timid. They don't want to talk. So all of these things have to happen from young. So I'm gonna read some of the questions. I think Dominic wants to say something.
Just quickly, the way that you were saying, um, that university is 100+ students and it's more of a lecture. The way that I see it, there's no real problem with that, because at that time you're usually 16 or older, and you had those 16 years that your parents, your teachers, they would have been able to mold you to be able to find out stuff and work on your own. So at that stage, you should be, if you were raised by, I don't want to say good people, or if you were raised by people who were themselves raised right and could instill the good works and the fighting spirit in you, then you should be good there, because right after that you'll be going into working force. And you don't want to come from high school and go straight into working force, even though sometimes that's how it is. But having that university there, if you do go, that setup is more so to the working force than high school is. So just having these certain principles instilled into the children and while they're young. Simple things like, as I said, taking care of and watching your parents. So like what my mother does sometimes, she will give us a schedule and we have to stick to it. It just helps us. And these little things that parents instill in us, and we might look over and say, oh, I'm going to do this another time. Again, just give me 10 more seconds. These certain things you can't do when you have your job. Because what is going to happen? You're going to get fired and they're going to find someone to replace you. So just certain things that are being instilled in you, and you just should not take it for granted. So I guess you can move to some questions now.
Right. So I'm gonna have a lot of questions. So I'm gonna read them and probably just direct it to one of the panelists. One of the next question says, well, it's more so a comment, but even though I was good at teaching my children, I realized that it was frustrating them and it was taking away our mother-child relationship when they didn't get it right. So I opt for lessons and they benefited and the home was more at peace. So yeah, parents have to at some point step in and realize what's best in your household. Another question asks, do you think revision or a restructuring of the system itself would make a real difference? Do you think that a delay of the 11 plus, for example, to a later time in life would make more sense? Or for example, letting the children attend one school. Okay, Kayla, what do you think about this?
Um, I think um I personally don't agree with the delay of the 11 plus, because even if you do delay, push it to you can push it to second form age, so 13 to 14, it's still going to come. And then if children that age are having trouble or doing the continuous lessons, what are you going to do? Push it to 15 and 16, and then they have to balance 11 plus with CAPE and CSAC. And with the letting the children attend one school throughout, I also don't agree with that. I think, like for me, for example, I went to a private primary school and then I moved on to go to a secondary school, a public secondary school. There, just the comparison of the two in primary school, it was a lot of Caucasians and like Indians and those types of people. So I was more so interacting, knew of their culture. And then in secondary school, it's just like a bigger range, and it's just the difference between, even if you don't look at the age groups, look at Charles F. Broom compared to, or should not everybody on here is from Barbados. Like at one primary school compared to another, just the difference and all the experiences that you can get. That's like saying, do you think we should all stay in Barbados for our whole lives, even if we have the opportunity to, explore and go to another country? I personally don't agree with that. At the end of the day, there are your children, and you obviously would do what you think is best for them, because I don't think anybody really knows a child better than the parents. But yeah, I think you should let children, explore and just gain as much knowledge as possible.
Okay, well, we're gonna try to get back on track right now. So we're gonna come back to the questions in the chat. But I want to ask this question. We're back on track to mental health. How important is a good relationship with family to assist with mental health? And to kind of add to that, what would make you want to share everything with your parents, or parents and family, do you think that you should share everything with them? Dominic, would you like to go?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry. Right. Well, I would say only one thing that will cause you to want to share something with, say, your parents or your family is if you can trust them, if you can rely on them, and if they themselves can sometimes relate to what is you're going through. So that's where your brothers and sisters might be more relatable. So you might share more with them than what you would share with your parents because they're going through the same schooling system, and sometimes they're going through the same stress that your parents have put you under. And then looking at your parents now, certain things you just won't talk with them about. Because why are you going to go and tell them something that they don't want to hear for them to go and get angry at you? But then if you don't and you don't talk to them about it, it's just gonna keep on happening. So I just believe that certain things you should talk to them about. And before you talk to them about it, try and keep a level head and let them have a level head as well. So one thing that I personally do, I try to diffuse arguments. And what I mean by that, I don't really like arguing because when certain other people argue, they forget everything that they are trying to get across, and they just see that that person is wrong and that's it. And at the end of the day, no one is actually benefiting from that. So I just believe the question was right. I believe one thing that can help you and allow you to share more with others, meaning your family or your parents, is that you all have a good relationship in one that they can understand what you're saying and they're not easily angered with certain things that you say.
Okay.
I feel like I was all the place there just now, but sorry.
Yeah, another thing is too when a parent has good listening skills, just to add to what Dominic said, good listening skills helps as well when somebody comes, and this is in general, probably not just parents, when somebody comes to you about something, um, give them chance to speak and say what they have to say rather than just cutting them halfway through, and where they can't really get to say what they have to say, and being very understanding and down to earth, as in re- what's the right word to use, understanding and negotiable. So yeah.
I'm gonna just keep my answers short and sweet. I think that and it is important to have a good relationship with, your parents and family members and stuff like that. Um, because especially when it pertains to mental health, if you're feeling down or you're not in like the right state of mind, I guess, you have somebody there that you can rely on and somebody that you can go to and like feel relaxed and stuff like that. And then would you want to share everything with your parents? I think no. Me personally, I would say no. I'm not saying that you just go and hide things from them because, oh, they're going to be upset or stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if there's certain things that you can think, well, what would my mom do in this situation or what should I do in this situation? Because at the end of the day, they're not always going to be there. And, you're not going to always be able to call and say, well, so and so happened, what should I do? So I think there has to be the right balance between going to them and telling them certain things and still keeping things to yourself, not the negatives, not things that you could get into trouble with and stuff like that, but more so things that you should be able to handle on your own.
Right. So I agree with everyone. I do agree you shouldn't have to tell your parents everything because at the end of the day they go through things as well. And if they really know everything that you go through as a child, I don't think, like I said, that would necessarily be to the best for them. But I also feel like parents have to create that relationship so children know that they can, even if what I'm coming to you with isn't good or bad. But it's also to not have, you still have that parent relationship, but not just be friends at the same time, if you understand what I mean. So this carries me into my next question about having a safe space with your parents. So my question is, and you could be very brief, yes or no. Do you have a safe space with your parents? And if not, then do you think it would benefit you or your friends in any way?
I would say yes, I do, and I believe it would be beneficial to others if they had it, because they're not having it can cause them to go to other people, and it might be the wrong people that they go to. So yes, I have it, and I believe that it should be that other parents should make it a way so that their children can come to them.
Right.
Yeah, I think that a safe space is important. Like as we said before, just being able to talk to somebody and thing. Um, I actually want that, like the people who are on the call right now, everybody doesn't have to answer, but if y'all think a safe space is important with your children, or if you think that if you had a safe space with your parents, certain things would have been different.
Right. So I completely agree. But I think the terms of a safe space have to be put under scrutiny. I am all for a safe space, but it's not everything that your child tells you that you will like in any way. It is for you to realize that within that safe space, that you can't, okay, say they tell you something bad. You can't come in 2 weeks and say, well, remember you did this, and because that can be pretty harsh. You're interested in someone, and if you can't trust your parents at the end of the day, who can you really trust? So, but like I said, all of this ties back to mental health. The interactions you have with your kids, the interactions they have from primary school with their friends, all of these tie back to how they are mentally. And people might not realize it, but a lot of the tantrums and the way kids act is because sometimes they might just be mentally, no, I shouldn't say mentally challenged. They might just need a little bit more guidance, you know? So having a safe space where kids can talk, be still being respectful, but yeah, you still have to have that relationship with your kids. So I don't see anybody saying if they have like a safe space with their kids. I don't know if Renal has anything to say. I could say honestly, right, that my safe space only came once I left school. Sorry, I left home. I think as I got older, I feel like my relationship with my mom was better because she missed me a lot. So I feel like we were able to talk about a lot of things. But it's age, honestly. You have to know the difference between having a parent and having a friend. And I actually have a lot of friends that I see the relationship that they have with their parents is not healthy. Right. So
I
I
agree with
see.
that fully.
Right.
Because when I was younger, there were certain things I used to hide from my mother because I didn't want the consequences of it. And but growing up, no, getting older, you know that there are always consequences for your actions. And I guess because of how I was raised, you have to deal with them. They will eventually get back to you. So simple things like lying, like
Am I stuck or is it Dominic? Okay, it's Dominic. Okay. Right. So yeah, back to I guess he will join us back in a minute. It's very unfortunate. But I think we wanted to basically go around the idea that it doesn't have to be a parent. It could be the whole family. And it doesn't have to be a child, it could be a cousin. We have to look at each other in general. And you have to realize the traits in family as well. So if you realize your kids, this generation of kids are acting out, then really check in on them because we do go through a lot. Though people might think that we are just kids, they don't go through anything, they're not stressed. But we are, they are. Because I see Mr. Berry says, I agree with a safe space. It's very important as a child to allow, I'm sorry. She was saying as a child, she was allowed call family meetings with her parents to discuss something that she did not like. Sorry, I did not like knowing, and it would be dealt with there and left there, right? So I'm not sure if I'm not really sure if people in the Caribbean do this or people in general, But my mom has said, we're going to have a family meeting, and I always say, whatever we say here has to stay here. We can't be vexed for the rest of the night with each other. But your kids need to know that they can talk to their parents, because if they don't, I feel somebody stress on this. If they don't, they will not be okay mentally, and they will find somebody else to confide in. So I do agree with the safe space. I don't know if, and I'm going to go back to the questions, but if anyone else has a question, feel free to raise your hands. So we had a question. But I feel like our next segment should be about schooling, because I feel like we had a lot of questions about school, and we have a very diverse panel that has been through it, top schools, private schools, every kind of school. Okay, that was good. No more comments, questions?
There's a raised hand, Chelsea.
Oh, hi. Wait, I pronounced your name wrong last time. I have no idea. Aisha?
That is okay. You did very well this time. Good night, everyone. Good night to all of the panelists.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you were going to go here, but my question specifically is as it relates to sports. I am one who believes that sports is life, and Dominic had mentioned it earlier that it does give and help with a balance. So I wanted to hear a little bit more from the panelists how being involved in sports has contributed to positive mental wellness, so to speak, and how being unable to compete in competitions now is contributing to the stress. Yes.
Okay, well, I can see that Kayla is eager to talk, so she can start.
I think for me personally, and I think like a lot of athletes can relate, is sport allows you to blow off steam. And when for me, I'm a swimmer and a triathlete, so when I'm in the pool and I'm swimming, no matter how much homework I have to do or how many late assignments or tests, in those hour and a half, 2 hours of swimming, is just kind of all of that like weight lifted. Obviously not every child can be an active or is really cut out for run around in the hot sun for an hour or two. But I think not only sport but just extracurricular activities on whole, because like for me personally, I did a bit of everything. I swam, I did triathlon, I fenced, I did hockey, I did football, I did ballet. But that's just because I personally am an active person. I think other people that aren't as active would obviously find other ways, whether it be, I don't know, playing chess or science experiments and stuff like that. But I think just finding something to do other than school is very important. And then coping now, it's a struggle. Now we're getting back into it, but at first, I think at the very beginning of quarantine, kind of to get that break, it was like, oh, okay, this is nice, this is okay, relax, resting a bit. But then after like a week, I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And then if you don't keep your body active and stuff like that, getting back when it's time to actually go back to training and stuff like that is going to be really hard and demotivated, because it's like, I really sat down and did nothing, and this is all the work that I have to go and put back in now because I lost so much.
And I know Dominic is an athlete as well.
Yeah, Kira basically said it all. And me, I played many sports as well. And one of the sports that, hold on a minute, I will move quickly because it may connection sport.
Well, I could give my take as somebody that was not active when I was young. I hated to sweat. Sweating was not for me. I hated it. But I can truly say when I went to university, I went to gym there. And then last year, before COVID hit, I had a personal trainer. And I don't know why, but because we did a lot of cardio, and for some reason, once I was finished, I felt at ease, like I felt light. And when I came back home, of course, I was completely upset because I was now hitting the goals that I really wanted to hit as soon as COVID hit. And I came back home, didn't see the gym until like September, and I was getting back into it. But then I felt the guilt of, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do. But I could tell that going to the gym for that hour really helps me a lot. And this is somebody that really I just want to be fit and cute. I don't really want to do all of that. But I do really think that going to the gym and being so active as a young child, because honestly, this could have been Kayla and Dominic's way of de-stressing from school, having other things to look forward to as a young child. You have, this is not going well, but I know I'm not going to be disappointed when I go to swimming class. So all of these things contribute. So back to Dominic.
Right, and as you said, all these things do contribute. And a major part of my badminton training on the national team, one thing that our coaches made sure is that we lived I would say, a balanced life. So as much as we would be happy to come to badminton training and to go and train, they would always check our report cards. And if they were not up to par, every session, they would spend 30 minutes before the session doing your homework, doing anything. Because yes, we are coming and we are having fun. But at the end of the day, if we are having fun doing this and not focusing on the other parts of our life, when we get older, it's all going to show the same way. And another part of the sports, helping with the health, and especially with the team sports. Me, I also played volleyball for Barbados, and just going to training, having all of those people around you, all of your comrades, when you all go and you're having fun, as Kayla said, all your worries are out of the door. Even when you're training hard, you're putting in so much work, but it doesn't seem like so much work because you are around people who have the similar goal as you. You are having fun, and as you said, Chelsea, you're just going to look cute. But with some of these sports, you can get there without even thinking about it. So as you say, it might be hard for you. For me, one thing that I realized playing sports, because when I was younger, I was a lot bigger, and just playing sports, I'm not even thinking about it. You can get to these certain places. So sports is just one way for us to de-stress. And one thing, as Kayla said, she said that we are not getting back into it. That's not the case for all of us. Because for me, the sports that I play, they are still on hold. And one thing that I used to do at the beginning of quarantine is get up and train every morning. And I took a break, but it started back today. And by doing that, my days just go so much better. So having something set out, like having a schedule, having a plan, it also helps with your mental health a lot. Because just that waking up, going and do have to do in the morning, bathe, and then get ready for class, I am a lot more productive than when I don't and I just wake up and go to class.
I think just to add to that quickly, with the same sports as it pertains to school and stuff, it pushes you to also do better in school. Like for swimming, for example, say there's 30 of us on the national team, 25 of us go to the top three schools in the country. And it's like I know for me personally, it was like, you know, the and Cozies and the Alex and the Daniels, they all go to Harrison College. So not only am I going to one of the best schools on the island, it's like you already have a community of people there that you know and that are gonna just make you feel comfortable at school and stuff. So although yes, it does help and it makes your day feel better and stuff, but it also does push you to do better with your schoolwork and everything.
I see Aisha has another question.
Yes, thanks, love. Just a follow-up question. Do you believe that extracurricular activities should be banned or suspended during exam time?
I don't
No.
think you should interrupt the flow.
I agree. But I wanted to hear them.
Yeah, because like how Dominic said, if he wakes up early on a morning and exercises, same thing for me. If I train on a morning, I feel a lot more productive at school and stuff like that. So if I wake up and I go and I exercise and then I come and I sit, I feel like I can concentrate more after I've exercised and stuff like that. So no, I personally don't agree with that. I know probably some parents or this might be different for even some athletes, they reduce their training in order to focus more, or parents are like, well, exam time is coming out and you seem to focus better if you aren't as tired. But I think it also all depends on the athlete and what the parents think is best for them. But for me personally, no.
Well, I believe that it should not be so. And it shows a lot, especially for these students who, as you say, are some top students and participate in extracurricular activities. If they are doing this and they're doing so well with them, why would you take them away? Because when you do that now, you're just causing them to have a extra gap in their life, and they're not going to want to focus that on something that's not as appealing to them, and that is just draining. Because even for I used to play cricket as well. Around exam time, my cricket coach will see that there's no one coming to practice, and he did not understand why. Because him growing up, what he did around exam time, he was still playing. He was still playing his sports, and it worked out well for him. So I really don't see why people think it is a need. And if you are currently feeling and playing your extracurricular activities, right, right. If you are currently feeling before exams, well paying extracurricular activities, and you take them out before and you're doing better, then sure. But if you are doing well with extracurricular activities, it makes no sense taking them out just for exams.
Right. So, yeah. Any other hands raised? And if you put a question in the chat, and I didn't get to it, Azette, you can unmute as well. But I have somebody here that is coming to the parents' defense. So it says, it's not that they want to pressure you as per se, but maybe it's that they didn't have the means or the opportunities or people to push them to their full potential that we have today. So because they can afford it, and knowing how much the extra push or exchange lessons can be an advantage for you, but maybe their approach can be better, that I don't feel like pressure, but more like helping you to reach that full potential. Yeah, I believe we completely agree, and we touched on this. Parents want their kids to do better than them. I think that's the all-round goal. You must do better than me. Well, yeah, I want my kids to do better than me. I don't want to say must. But parents have to really come to reality. Not all kids can be better, because think about it. If your mom is a doctor and your dad is a lawyer and your aunt is an engineer, and they want you to be better than them, but you just want to be, what can I say? Anybody?
An artist or
An artist,
like that,
yeah. Entrepreneur.
Because
Nothing is wrong with that. That is, normal. But what do you have to say, Dominic?
right, because they're saying that they want better for you, better than they had, and they can give you that, but you still get to choose your path. As you just said, you want to be a doctor and artist. Sorry, you having a better life and actually enjoying life. Life isn't supposed to be a struggle forever. And yes, in life there will be some ups and downs, and as we know, following the Lord, that there will be trials and tribulations. But at the end of the day, they wanting better for us might not be us being a doctor or being the same thing as them or making more money than them in that way. But it's us enjoying life and having, I wouldn't say having fun, but having to enjoy the joys of life and not being down and suppressed. Because when we go to do what it is that they want, we might not be stable in our minds. But when we're gonna do what it is we choose, we will be enjoying it. We might be making better for other people. So just that better for them, it has to be put in perspective of what they actually mean.
I think for me, I would say this is where it goes back to the relationship with the parent and the child. Because yes, as you said, like, you have the resources and you want your children you want to push them to their full potential. So they might start off with the lessons and the stuff like that. But if they have a strong relationship with you, as a parent, then they should feel comfortable enough to be like, well, I understand where you're coming from as a parent, but I don't think I want to do lessons, or I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I don't think it should necessarily be they say they don't want to and you say okay fine. I think it should be like a conversation, you know, be like, why, you know, do you think this is beneficial, and you're just saying you don't want to do it just because, and then from there decide.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
and I guess this also ties back into certain expectations that parents may have for their children. Instead of just probably trying to force them into a career that you could see them in, probably sit them down and ask them, do you think that this is something you could see yourself in? If not, why? And just try to have that conversation that may help. I know something that somebody said that they said they didn't work one day in their life, and I guess that means that they enjoy their job so much that they don't really consider it as a job. It's just something they enjoy doing, and at the same time getting paid for it. So yeah.
all right, great. So I'm gonna ask Pastor Henry to share this survey that we found online, but it basically just talks about mental health, and it really the topic that it talks about is what really has college students stressed during COVID-19. Now, not everybody's in college, but that's where you hope your kids to go, your aunts, what am I saying? Your nieces and your nephews to go. So just gonna give you a few of the main statistics, but I believe Pastor Henry will share the document in the chat. Right. So the top 5 causes of stress and anxiety. It says that 72% of the people that took this survey, basically, the uncertainty about the future of their education. So all of these things are, things that kids will go through. It says 61% fear of falling behind in schoolwork. Okay, so we are on the second page. And it says 60% struggles with remote learning. So online school, 50% worries. Okay, I can read from the screen. Worries about future career and job prospects, and 49% fear about their own health and or the health of their loved ones. So I guess we have 5 of them, but I guess each person can take, each panelist, because we are running out of time, can take one which you think relates to you or your group of students or people. I can go first. I feel like actually you guys can go.
You're already committed to it, Chelsea. Continue. We're listening.
Okay, I could go through all and I could relate it to you guys, but the uncertainty about the future of their education. Truthfully, we go through at every point in our life. They said in 11 plus is the hardest exam you'll ever do. CXC is the hardest exam. CAPE is the hardest. If you don't get a degree, you will be nothing. And if somebody goes through this and fails at certain points of this, how think about it mentally. How is that benefiting them in any way? So I completely agree with this point, and I'm sure the panelists do. It says the fear of falling behind in schoolwork, and I will relate this to the remote learning. I don't think that kids or people or students are learning with COVID. I think it is mentally exhausting, especially because I know in my case, they have turned a lot of things into coursework. So we have a heavier workload. And the simple things of submitting and, having to being cracked down on because of accreditation purposes, mentally seeing a timer saying on there, counting down on you have to submit in this time is extremely draining. And I feel like because of the pressure that we are under, that they still have to meet up to whatever criteria, they're putting a lot of work on the students, and the students are no longer learning, but they're just doing assignments. They're just getting by every day. They sit down and they just listen in class and say, yeah, teacher, I got everything right. But I mean, they probably didn't do the homework, and it says 50% worry about their careers and jobs. I think that this is a worry with and without COVID. And this would tie us back to, are you doing what you love? Because if you love it, then you're gonna be determined, you're gonna have the drive, you're gonna push on, and you're gonna want to look for that dream job. But if you're doing something that you don't want to do, that your parents think is best for you, you're not going to have the drive, and you're probably going to be at home in your 20s, and your parents are going to be vexed, and you mentally are going to be frustrated talking with each other. This is not me. I just put myself in this position. You're going to be mentally frustrated. Parents will be mentally frustrated because why is my child not, motivated to get out of here? And then it says 49% for their own health. And I completely agree with that, because we sit down in front of a computer. I wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I go sleep at 3 or 4. And I'm in front of my computer. Sometimes I don't eat, I don't really sleep. And that is completely unhealthy, because before in class, we would have breaks before we would get to socialize. People, I think, and lecturers and parents maybe might not realize how much we depend on socializing, mentally. I feel like I haven't seen my friends in a year now. I haven't really done anything with my friends, and it's like, oh my gosh, is this life? It could dawn on you, and if you're locked in a room doing your work, mentally, you could go crazy. We are not meant to be within four walls. So, if you have kids and you have nieces and nephews and godchildren that you haven't spoken to in weeks, check in on them, message them, see how they're doing, and be that person that they can confide in. Because if they can't confide in, if they can't bring in everything to their parents, there has to, why am I tripping out? There has to be somebody that they can go to. And like I said, it's a whole of family thing, and it's not her mommy and daddy. But we also know that parents go through a lot, mentally, physically, psychologically, everything. So it's really balanced. It really is, and maybe your kids' problems might be coming off on you, and you as a family might need to go and get help to not get help. I don't want to make it seem like it is like you're mentally have a mental problem, but I just want to allow people to realize we need to talk, we need to communicate, because keeping everything inside is not healthy. And I feel like before COVID, people did this, but now it is so out there. Oh my gosh, mental health this, mental health that, and it does affect children. So talk amongst each other, have like we said, a free space, a safe space to, to better life.
Yeah, I think that when this is over, we get to interact and stuff like that. Parents usually complain about us always being on our phones and stuff. I think parents are going to be very happy. They probably pick up our phones for half the time that we used to before.
Yeah, it's true. Well, we are going to close off. I'm just going to allow the panelists to give their final remarks. So I will start with, I know Renelle is here, so I'll just allow her to give her 2 cents, and then we will go to Dominic and then Kayla.
Yes, good night again, everyone. It was really nice sitting in to listen to what Kayla and Dominic had to say on mental health. I believe it's a very broad topic, and there are a lot of aspects to it. Probably some aspects we didn't even touch on tonight, but I guess it's something to still look into as we go ahead. So yes, I really enjoyed tonight's discussion.
There's one thing that I want to leave you on. I would like for everyone in here to try and inform yourself of what mental health is, as how you can better, will not say really treat it, but how you can better address it so that you can then help others in your family, because it is a serious situation, and a lot of people are suffering mentally, and we don't really see it and we don't address it. And it's just something that we need to start addressing and working on.
Yeah, I agree with what Dominic said. I think like now it's just, I think the awareness for it has really gone up since COVID and the pandemic. So now I think it's just time for us to apply it, all the information we have and what we can do among ourselves and our family members. I really did like the conversation, the discussion we had tonight, and the questions and the interaction from everybody else. And I'm looking forward to doing this again.
Great. So, yes, I felt like we kind of went off topic a bit, but I just want to reiterate that we feel everything we spoke about relates back to mental health, whether we said it or not. It all ties in somehow. So feel free to watch the recording on YouTube and just, comment on it. Well, we didn't have any more comments, but I just wanted to say we had a great conversation. I think maybe our next one should be about the school system and education, because that is where our conversation kind of went. And we just want to say thank you for coming here with us today. You can join us next week for another program that is titled Managing Physical Health. So, we spoke about mental health last week. We spoke about it this week, and now we're going into physical health. So we just thank you guys for coming and watching, and good night.
Thank you. But quickly before you leave, Chelsea, the YouTube channel.
Yeah. The name?
Right. Yeah.
Is it?
It's Real Talk Family Life.
Right, so
Real Talk Family Life.
Real Talk Family Life on YouTube.
And we're being recorded right now, so.
Yeah.